one thing I like
But you do
about
what you
you.
call from 8 to 10.
Okay.
She do Sheffield from 8 to 10.
I just left him over there. I just did a segment with Chef.
Yeah.
He
What are you talking about?
you know, he was waiting on Adam to get in Horia, and so he's running with the ladies.
Adam.
What for what?
I don't know what they were talking. You know, like I said,
Adam is dead meat.
yeah, well,
Adam had his opportunity.
yeah. Well, you know that. You know how they bounce around and do their
Yeah,
thing.
but he's been weak since 2013.
You know how that goes. Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be. We're getting in at the right time. I really believe that. I think we're getting in at the right time. I think so. Hey. Good morning. How you doing? Good to see you.
Where's your wife at?
She's back there. I think she's probably might get something here or something. Oh, one of them come in here?
Have a sit
The
over
food
there.
is decent. The breakfast.
Yeah, have a sit over there.
Well, no,
What we got?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Come
I'm
on.
gonna rinse it after you. That's what it
Ms.
is.
Vanessa, Eric Brown. He's cold-blooded Negro. Yeah, he knows. He got his family. So burning down with his little boy.
You see this cold in here? You see this cold in here?
I'm cold every day.
Freezing yesterday. It's like, we need to go. Like, oh, I forgot where I was, but it was cold. I was big as soon as the show was
8
over
seconds.
last night.
8 seconds. Come on. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the Friday. Well, we did Friday yesterday. Saturday edition of Detroit in Black and White. We're here at McShane's on Michigan Avenue in Trumbo. Thank you, Bob Roberts, for letting us use your venue. It's raining outside. Good morning, Vanessa Moss, Attorney Vanessa Moss.
Good morning to all of the co-hosts this morning. But I especially want to say good morning to all of those that are joining us on YouTube or all the other social media websites. If you are watching us, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. Good morning, Dwayla Boyce. I see her, she's on there. And, join us again on Wednesday.
Okay, Eric Brown, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone. God bless us all with an opportunity to be here today. It's always better to be above ground than below. Be seen than viewed.
Who are you, Tiny Tim? God bless us all.
Yeah.
And all a good night. Okay. Yeah. And our special guest here, Whitney Clark. How you doing?
You know what? It's wonderful to be here on set at McShane's.
You're running for.
I am running for City Council District 5.
How you get that name, Whitney?
Back in the 80s, I think the Uncle South.
Was you named after Whitney Houston?
No, I'm not to my knowledge.
Yeah, but Whitney Young, I'm
My
sure.
mom had a
Whitney,
friend.
don't even Whitney Young.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about Whitney. He got drowned in Africa. Somebody killed him. They say he was swimming, but anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so yeah, my mother named me Whitney Clark. Nevertheless, I am running for city
You
council.
got two last names?
I guess
Two
so.
first names?
Yeah, well, I guess you could. Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? Listen, I'm glad that you're here. You follow us and stuff, and and I'm glad that you. Young folks, and I said we need some new blood. Nothing wrong with running. Don't let anybody,
Yeah,
stop you from
certainly.
trying to get your dream.
Certainly.
You got your family here.
Absolutely. I have my lovely wife. We're married in 2019. Rebels is my 3-year-old son, and I have Riel. She's our 8-month-old little girl, and so we are living the American dream here in Detroit, and I'm raising a family here, and so that means what happens next in the city matters a lot to me. The schools, as Mr. Brown points out frequently. Yeah, he talks about that a lot, and I believe that we are up against a very critical deadline. Some people call it the silver wave. We have an influx of seniors getting ready to matriculate out of the tax base, and it is my belief that we have to have young people that are coming into the tax base at the same rate that people are going to get ready to leave out of the tax base. And so that means we have to take a hard look at education.
Listen, I'm Adolph Mungo, and we're here talking to 5th District candidate for the City Council, Whitney Clark. What is the 5th District?
The 5th District is, you got Rivertown. Now, you know they just did a redistricting thing, but for the most part, you've got Rivertown, Greektown, you've got Boston, Edison, you've got a portion of downtown as well. A lot of people are fixated on downtown, and then we got Midtown. But we've got some great places on the east side as well. We go all the way out to absolutely.
What are the fucked up places?
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm a block by block type of guy, and so you've got some blocks right there off of 14th Street in Boston, Edison, that can actually see some rejuvenation, and of course it goes nice.
Well, I was just reading where some folks over in Boston Edison is upset that they about to do some market rate apartments. Why they don't want folks to come over there? This is not a private ownership and shit.
Well, I think there's a lot of development going on in the city, and people have a number of different emotions about some of the things that are taking place. I know you guys talk about the 375 project pretty frequently and what's going on there, and I'm hoping that every day, people that have been in those neighborhoods for a long time aren't too negatively impacted by what's about to take place there. So I believe I'm the candidate.
Well, 375 is a scam because the folks that's going to get paid on 375 got shit to do with 375. All they want to do is give a plaque to somebody and say, you know what, this is where 3,000 families was relocated and run out, etc. You get elected. You get elected tomorrow. What's your game plan?
My game plan is having a conversation with our school district about how we can establish this all hands on deck approach. I am quite frankly, the only candidate that I've heard that has been talking about formally creating a relationship between our school districts, and we're going to partner with our religious organization as well as fraternities and sororities and other nonprofit organizations to ensure that our children really have the wraparound services that they need, that they really have this, the type of educational that they need, really connecting the dots, ensuring that our families are not falling in between the cracks. And so day one, we've got to start this robust conversation, and we're going to bring in bright minds. We're going to bring in people from the left, from the right, from the center, people that believe that nothing should change, and we're going to bring in people that believe everything should change. But we've got to have the conversation. Why? Because we have an aging population that deserves, quite frankly, the right to age with dignity. And we don't have children that are going to be, that are able to work out of high school. And so we've got to begin to change that.
But a lot of people often talk about how it starts at home. What are your plans to involve the parents? Because they play a very vital role in the educating of their children.
Yeah.
So if they are not educated, how do you help them?
Yeah. I believe a lot of the disparity that you see in our neighborhoods is as a result of a lack of opportunity. When you begin to look at really a lot of these things, it's a matter of the conditions that people have. I apologize. The conditions that people have in their neighborhoods. And so I think that goes back to the other conversation that we're having about development, about holding people accountable to ensure that people are being employed by these projects. And we're also going to be sober-minded enough to encourage factories to come here, because there is a big federal shakeup that's taking place right now. And whether you like or dislike Trump, He is trying to bring factories and manufacturing back here to this country. And so we've got to be sober-minded enough to come and make that case. And I believe I'm the best person to not only, make sure that the money stays clean, because we know we got a lot of bureaucrats in the city locally, but also make an accurate representation and the best argument for people in Lansing and even beyond. And so that's why I believe I'm really, quite frankly, the best candidate to really bring these forces together.
So, so you'll be, once you're elected, you'll be representing.
Love those glasses, by the way.
Thank you. You'll be representing District 5. The things that you're talking about, how do you think that you'll be able to facilitate those kind of things like engaging the community, wraparound services with the school? Because you will be representing one district, but we're talking about the schools of Detroit.
Certainly.
So how do you
Yeah,
plan to do that?
I was having dinner with Dr. Beatty just the other night, and we were having a conversation with some other educational leaders and whatnot, and it was private conversation. But I can tell you that the time is now to come together and build those relationships. And I also have a religious background, and so again, we're going to have the conversation with the religious component, because one of the things that's missing from our education is the religious component that cannot be understated enough. There's a religious component, and I think that's going to play a major part in the rewiring of the minds of our children, because that's also something that exists beneath the surface. But again, to your point about how do you implement that, I believe you create a partnership with the churches. I've been talking one-on-one and collectively with the Baptist ministries.
But there's a separation of church and state.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to just be frank with you. I have a problem with religion playing a role in government and whatever. You know what? You can believe whatever you want to believe,
Right.
and I don't have any problem with that. Yeah. But I do have a problem with you can't have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. You can't. When I say you have your cake and eat it too, where the state pays these schools, charter schools, and all these other stuff, and then they have the right to not take this person or that person and stuff. Yeah. You can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways.
2 quick points. I was saying, whenever our communities were thriving, the churches were at the center of that. The churches were at the center of the organization and things of that nature. That's one thing. And on the other end of that,
but that was different times.
Well, we've got to
we came from the church.
Yes.
Because the church is the only vehicle we had.
Yes.
It was the political end for black people.
Yes.
It was the educational end for black people and stuff. I was just reading the other day and how they was praising Martin Luther King. He got accepted to Morehouse College at 15. Well, he did, but he was going to high school because Benjamin Mays, all the men at Morehouse got drafted, went to World War II, were fighting in the war, and they was going to close Morehouse, and he said, how are we going to keep it open? Oh, you make it a high school and stuff. But, you have to be innovative, you have to be creative.
Certainly.
And stuff. You can have a partnership,
Certainly.
but the church can't be the focus of education.
No, and that's just one
You
element
can't
of it.
bail media out.
Well, no, that's just one component of it. I think there's also partnerships that we can create with other organizations in the community, like Black Tech Saturdays. I believe that the innovators and the tech creators that come together almost every week here in the city, and they are people of color, black people specifically, they have the capacity to build the type of curriculums that engage our children in a way, and this kind of pivots to something else that we need to address as it pertains to our education. I believe that we should bring trades back to our schools. I believe that we should put our children in a position to have real life skills where they can earn a living wage. And so I think that's another component that is exclusive away from the church. We need to bring those type of real life skills back into our schools.
Where the trade schools at? Well, we got schools that have swimming pools that haven't been open in 20 years.
Yeah.
They don't have art programs. They don't have phys ed. They don't. All they do is throw a football to somebody or a basketball. They don't have no soccer team. They don't have no baseball team. They don't have no tennis team. They don't have shit.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Can I speak to that? Can I speak to the idea of us in city council reclaiming the power that we have? We're going to say to the big investors, we're going to say to the philanthropic community, we're going to say to the private sector, these are the things that we need. We're going to have to freeze the
So
GDP.
why we let Tom Gores get away? He get $35 million to build a facility downtown, and he give us a fucking basketball court over at Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Now that's what we got for giving him $35 million.
Yeah.
We give the Illages $100 million, $200 million. They build. What are we getting out of this?
I agree 100%, and that's why we have elections. That's why we have people that are adamant about coming. And you know, I was telling myself this last night. You know, I'm so excited because we're raising the standard of what it takes to lead here, because the elected officials have to come here before the election as well as after the election, not only to know what the community feels, but it's also as well as pitch the ideas that we have here, because these are things that we believe can create change if we increase opportunities, if we have starter homes, if we increase the type of education that we have. I believe there's great change here, but you got to have your leaders that are coming and having a conversation.
Did you go up in the city?
Well, I've traveled. I come from a military family, so I've had an opportunity to travel about.
Your father, brother was in the military?
Yes, my grandfather was in the military.
At the Army?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a question from one of our viewers, Part 1. It said, Mr. Clark, which is best for Detroit, CBAs or CBOs, and explain why?
CBAs or CBOs, what are you referring to?
Community
Benefits Agreement, CBA.
and CBO is Community
Benefit Ordinance.
Right.
It's my understanding that one created the other, right? You had an ordinance that.
That one I can answer.
Okay, well, maybe if you give me a little bit more clarity on the question, kind sir, I'll be happy to answer it, but I'll answer it to the best of, I'll use my own interpretation. Go ahead.
So community benefits agreements, because I know when they're building that new building next door to where I live, they had the community engaged, and I started to get on the public works members, and so it is just to, I saw it as just a way to rubber stamp what the people are doing, but it's supposed to be some way to hold people accountable. There were people asking questions about whether or not their water bills are going to go up higher because of this building that's being built. Whether or not, talking about traffic and the influx of traffic and those kind of things. For Power Orgs, if you don't mind, we want you to chime in.
Well, so also CBAs speaks to having so many people from the community working on the projects as well as being hired. And one of the things that happened with Little Caesars Arena, the contractors paid a fee up front because they knew they would not have qualified
Isn't that
residents of
laughable?
Detroit.
I mean, isn't that laughable?
You know, but the city council signed off on that.
Yeah.
You know, just like, you know, to Adolph
Let me
point,
tell you what-
they didn't even.
It reminds me of, you say they pay up front, reminds me of the basketball player Anthony Edwards, who was ordered to pay $5,000 a month for child support
Yeah, I heard about that.
for a little newborn baby that he didn't want. He just wrote a check for $1 million.
$2.1 million based on 18 years.
18 years, and say,
Yeah,
nah, I
that's
don't
right.
even have to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. We don't have to deal. You know what? I'm not gonna have anybody from the community on this project. How much I owe you? Here, let me go in my pocket and pay you.
Yeah.
And yeah, the city council. You know, people say, you know, this is a strong mayor, weak council concept of government. We don't. People have advocated that Detroit is small enough and large enough to have a city manager. You know, San Diego is twice as big as Detroit, and they have a city manager and stuff. why can't Detroit now have a city manager? I guess we done got spoiled because we done had the Coleman Youngs and.
Well, we're going to have a District 5 manager. We're going to have a District 5 council person. We're going to have a District 5 3.
But that's not somebody that's day to day that's running the city that has no skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Well, that's
and the
it.
mayor is just another vote.
That's it.
Speaking of no skin in the game, you mentioned you had a meeting with BD recently, and specifically with no skin in the game, his kids don't even go to DPS.
Yes.
As the superintendent, what will you put in place to say that if you're going to be over the school? No, you can put forth a bill. You can put forth a bill. What would you say would be one of the requirements for a superintendent? Because if you don't feel your kids good enough to go to the school, what does that say about you leaving the school?
Yeah. Well, I'll say again to Dr. VD, to that, I think it's very interesting, and I'd like to have that conversation in a couple of years in a more robust way, because we're looking at some elections coming up with the school board, and again, I am adamant about making the ask for change. I'm adamant about it, and here's the thing: we are making these election issues. We have to have better schools. We have to create a partnership. We have to allow all the minds to come together and the coolest heads to prevail, because we're up against it and our future isn't promised. And so again, God bless whoever the
What's your neighborhood schools? You got 2 kids. I see 2 a lovely family.
Yes, absolutely.
And stuff. And we need families like this. Where are you gonna send your young man over there? He over there?
Yeah, well,
listen, where is he gonna go to school? Can he walk across the street and go to kindergarten, or go to 1st grade, or go to the nursery school, or whatever they call it these days?
I wouldn't say that he's.
Or you gonna put him on a bus, or you gonna have to drive him out to Oak Park or Southfield or somewhere.
Well, I'll tell you now that win or lose this election, my children will be raised in these schools. We've got to listen, and I think we've kind of been, culturally, I think we've been forced or asked to accept less. But I kind of feel like, Noah when he's saying that there's a rain coming. There's a rain coming, and we don't make things here in our cities anymore. We assemble them. Our children can't read. Are you guys hearing me? The seniors are getting ready to be retired. And the people in the middle have got to do something drastic, or we're done. Go ahead.
But the children can't read, but you have a superintendent who's been here for 8 years, and the test scores have been pathetic for 8 years.
But it's test score, Eric. If the test score is indicative of what education is about, or is it about culture change on how people look at how we educating our kids?
It's a byproduct of both, but the perception is as superintendent, you say you're going to increase scores, and they have not increased. There's some accountability that needs to be had.
Is score the only thing that we should be concerned about?
Well, you have to be concerned about a graduation rate that's false. You're putting people out into the world that can't get jobs. These kids can't get jobs. I mean, look at what Little Caesars did. Look at what they did when they built the Ford Field. Detroit residents were not hired because they were not qualified. It wasn't about not passing the drug test. It was also not passing the actual test to get into these companies.
Some of that bullshit.
When I was at Ford, there's an aptitude test you have to take for all 3 of the big 3. The issue wasn't just the drug test people were not passing, which they have not waived. Individuals cannot pass these simple 4th grade aptitude tests.
But is it fair to just dump on the city? Because I know educators that teachers at some of these universities say it's just not a Detroit problem. It's a problem all over the place, where these kids is, you know what? You got text messages, and you got folks can't write a sentence. You got folks.
They can't even sign their name nowadays.
Right. But we'll sit here and you'll have people call and say, "Oh, there's no hardware stores in Detroit." Right down the street, or you can't. Nick Hood used to say this, former councilman. You can't buy underwear in Detroit. I said, why do you keep saying that shit? You can go buy. But you put that out there and you say it long enough and loud enough. Oh, people at 95% can't read or write, but they was able to write Doug's name in. Yeah, he got elected.
So they say.
Yeah, well, so they say. But the whole the perception was he got the votes. You got to write in.
Can I speak to that just really quickly? Because I want to speak to the underlying job that exists here and the opportunity that I have, and quite frankly, I take it very seriously, is helping to change that perception. Because we know what the thought is of black men. We know what the thought is of the people here in Detroit. We know what the thought is of people that have been reared here in this city and understand the culture and love it and have raised their families here. And so I take that very seriously. Being the representation that people can be proud of, right? That being a family person, being someone who's religious and is faithful to his family and faithful to his church, because I want us to change. I want young people to see a brighter image of individuals, people leading here locally, and so that's something that I take very seriously. Is that responsibility of being a good example. And I just kind of wanted to make that point.
One of our viewers just said that you did not deduct the question as to whether or not that the council manager form of government, you ducked that question. He says, I don't want you representing, he said he don't want you representing him in District 5. You can't answer that question.
I ducked the council manager meeting. Well, okay, so I apologize. I wasn't ducking the question. I didn't have an opportunity to finish the answer. What I was specifically getting ready to say is that I have the belief that the council person should actually be managing the city. And if we believe that the city is small enough for one person to manage it all, I believe that the council people should get their boots on the ground. And when you see me oftentimes, of course I'll be formal, informal sessions, but I'll be in the neighborhoods. That's where I'll be doing both of my work.
Well, you know what? I remember when people was advocating for the districts and stuff, because at one time we had all 9 council people was living in the same area.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we got folks. Man, you know what? Now I'm thinking that it should be split now. We should have only about 4 districts and maybe the rest at large. I don't know.
Because actually a lot of them did live in District 5. Yeah, Irma Henderson, you had John Peoples, Mary Ann Happy. I think David Everhart lives on the east side. Clyde Cleveland, former in District, what is now District 5.
Yeah, well, people want to live in St. Louis area.
And I just want to say that again. We are raising the standard for local leadership, and I believe that a lot of the work that we should be doing has been relegated and given to other people via executive decisions and things of the nature and creations of other departments, which has resulted in our government being too big and overregulated either way. And so
how people get a hold of you? How do they join your campaign?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, we are hard away knocking doors. If you want to join as a volunteer or a donor of our campaign, you can reach out to me at Whitney Clark for Detroit.com. That is Whitney Clark, CLARKE FOR Detroit.com. And my phone number is 313-349-3581. If you want to reach out to me personally, I'd love to come and speak at your neighborhood block association, church, etc. And again, thank you guys so much for having me.
And quickly,
one more time.
Number one more time.
My phone number is 313-349-3581. I pick up the phone, and lastly, the phones will be picked up personally. The answers, and that's not an indictment on anyone, anyone personally, but the phones will ring when you have an issue, when you have a concern. I'm telling you, I'm going to come and pull up on you and see about you. So
quickly,
yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
And so again, I'm an early childhood educator. My wife and I founded the Heart Next Door Early Enrichment Center in 2019. And so that's one of the things that I've done. And again, I'm a licensed minister by vocation. And so I've had the privilege and honor of working, quite frankly, across the country as a music developer.
So you're the Army grad, huh?
Yeah, well, yes, sir. Yeah, not myself. I didn't serve myself, but like I said,
But you moved a lot.
Yes, yeah, as a result of coming up in a family that served, and shout out to all of those who have served and definitely someone again who supports our veterans and our aging population. And so yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
No, I mean, he answered. One of the questions from the viewers is, what does he presently do? But he just answered.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this because Carl Orr did answer the question. So just for educational purposes, and I thank you for that, CPAs give more power to the residents of Detroit when dealing or negotiating with developments versus CBOs. With CBOs, which is currently what Detroit has, allows the mayor to receive kickback from the developers. Also, CBOs are weak and unenforceable without a clawback agreement. So, with that said, Mr. Clark, which one do you favor?
Yes.
CBA.
Yes, and that's under the complete assumption that everything that you presented is absolutely true. If in fact everything that you presented in your comment is true, then I definitely support giving more power to the citizens. I think that is what is fair, and that is what we will advocate for. Again, I understand how all of this is intertwined, and the less power that our constituents and individuals have here in the city, the less the space that we see is going to continue to diminish. And again, I understand the urgency, and so again, we have to make sure that the constituents' voices are lifted. So again, assuming that everything that you presented is accurate, of course, I believe that we should give our power to the constituents. Absolutely.
And one of your potential constituents asked, well, they stated you never answered the question about whether or not you would send your kids to DPS.
I make the verbal commitment as of right here today that my children will be going to these schools here publicly. It's a fight that we cannot avoid. You can't listen. We can't avoid this fight. Because when you all are looking at yourselves in the next 10 and 20 years, I mean, picture yourself in the next 10. You're going to need, and listen, and you're going to be up against it. Watch this. You're going to be up against it if the people that are selected to take care of you don't look like you. They don't understand your background. Huh? Talk to me, somebody.
If I'm here in 20 years, you're in trouble.
Well, you know, they say the a-holes live forever, you know?
we're in trouble. You know, like they say, the son, children are our future. Really, they are.
Benson, the real greatest
they are our future. We're going to have you come back.
Certainly.
And you know what? I like your enthusiasm.
I appreciate it.
And you know, you putting some spark into
We got to.
the campaign.
And you guys didn't ask me about the mayoral's race, and hey, listen, I've got some opinions.
Wait a minute. Sherman Moore said he put his money where his mouth is. His wife is a teacher and logistics, both graduated from Detroit Persian. Both my kids attended Detroit Public Schools Community District from preschool to high school. Both cast tests.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you, those that are raising the family there. The ones that are raising the families here in the city. I'm running this race for you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
come on back. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you. Whitney Clark, candidate for City Council.
District 5.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Absolutely.
That was good.
Really good.
Good.
I have much to say this morning, but not really too well.
Why? You shouldn't have came.
No. What? I'm tired. I took some medication to stop this cough that I've had for the last 6 months.
You know
Stop. But this cough that I've had for the last 6 months, and so I've been taking some medicine the last couple of days. It makes me very,
some
very
bleach
sleepy.
couldn't get that out. Call Robert Kennedy.
Call Robert Kennedy. Robert, where are you?
Henry's got his number.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, crazy motherfucker.
They'll say you crazy.
Right?
He'll say you crazy.
Well, I can be crazy, but I believe in getting shots and shit.
Right.